All right, well, welcome back to Black Swan Outdoors, and today we are going to do another travel map video. So we did a video about kind of preparing a travel notebook. We talked about how to do a strip map, just a sketching out a map in your notebook that you could use for travel, transportation. And then we did a version of that, a couple different digital maps or Google-based maps that you can use to prepare. So a digital strip map and then a digital, what we called operations map or travel map. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about paper maps and specifically kind of preparing a paper map. Now, oftentimes what I see is in YouTube videos in particular, and more specifically within kind of the preparedness community, is that a lot of times people kind of pull out state maps. They might pull out like 2 or 3 state maps of kind of surrounding states, or large atlases even, and say that's good enough. And for emergencies, that's good enough for driving, and it gives you a wide area for kind of a large at a large scale. But if you wanted really, if you're on foot and you're moving around and you want something on much smaller scale. Now, for those that are familiar with hiking, they might think, well, a topographical map is great, and it might be. However, it's going to get, oftentimes topographical maps provide almost too much information, particularly for an emergency or for quick reference, or for just something simple like just traveling around and getting your way around a city with vacation. So oftentimes what you can find in your hotel lobby are tourist maps, tourist strip maps, or kind of just basic tourist maps that they give out for free so that you can visit different locations. Of course, they have advertisements on them and all that. Now, these can be very handy maps that you can use and you can rely on as well. So there's a couple things that we can do kind of to prepare ourselves with these maps, and there's some tools that we can bring along with us when we travel to help prepare the map as well. Certainly, probably one of the most important things, even if you don't have a map, is to have a compass. Now, every smartphone, of course, has a compass, but in many situations, you may or may not want to be having your cell phone out or on. And in that case, having just a small, lightweight compass is all you really need for most travel. Lots of cities, obviously roads are on some kind of grid system, so you just often need to know your cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, and like a simple button compass can certainly do that. If you want to take that game up to the next level, I really like the Sunu Clipper, and I think we did a whole post on this on Patreon of all the different things you can do with this little compass. I really find it to be a great little tool to use for a city that you might not be familiar with. People who grow up, say, in Oceanside might use the ocean as reference to where they're at, or people in, where mountains are. They'll use mountains as reference. And if you take those people and you put them into a new location, sometimes they have a hard time kind of orienting themselves to those new locations. And having a compass that you can kind of refer to simply just makes things faster and more accurate. And that's the whole point of the compass. So yes, you can figure out your location through all sorts of different means without using a compass, even the sun and whatever. However, what the point is creating speed and accuracy in making your decisions. And that's where those tools come in. So yes, you can do things without the tools, but it's faster and more accurate to use the right tools. So one of the things I like about the Sunu is that it has a dial, a bezel that can be moved, so you can actually use that for traveling in azimuth or on a bearing that you have on your map. So that is super, super helpful. And it also, because of that, it makes it a fairly decent backup compass. If your primary compass, like let's say you're hiking, breaks and you no longer have you only have one compass, this is a great kind of backup compass. So in very critical tools, sometimes it's good to have backup, particularly if those tools are made of plastic or can be damaged. The Sun 2 can be a great primary for travel and secondary for wilderness travel. So, primary for urban. So I really like that. You can clip this right onto the map. You can clip it onto your watch. You can, on a sleeve, whatever, just put it in your pocket. Refer to it when you need it. Give you your cardinal directions, north, south, east, west. Boom, and you're off, and you can go. Now, if you want something a little bit more detailed, just your basic pocket compass, or base plate compass rather, is all that you need. Now, you will see tons of videos all over YouTube on people recommending the biggest and the bestest and the most ferociousest of all compasses, and they're often the most expensive. And really, for most people in most situations, they never need all of that whiz-bang features that they have in a compass. And I know people say, what if? But it's often not the case. And in my humble opinion, I get more use out of basic compasses than I do on fancier, more expensive compasses. And I do hike and canoe quite a bit and rely on my compass quite a bit. So as long as it's a decent compass, reputable compass, well constructed, 2 degrees on the bezel, you're going to be fine. That's useful. A lighter compass is going to be in your pocket most likely, versus in your pack, or not at all. I always like to add a whistle to all my compasses. I just do that it's just a habit. Nice to have a whistle with you for communications, not just for emergencies, but just general communications as well. Back when I used to rock climb quite a bit, we used to, kind of in the old-fashioned way of yodeling, would use whistles to communicate with each other when we're coming up on different climbs and areas and locations, or to communicate things when you're up above, you're like 300 feet above, your people, or you're 100 feet or something above your belayer. It's nice to be able to kind of cut the wind and be able to communicate. I also use whistles to communicate when I'm canoeing across water. Makes it very, very easy. So lots of non-emergency use for whistles. I did a whole video earlier about, these, and how you see a lot of people trying to downplay the importance of whistles, or only think of whistles as emergency tools, but they're just a good communication tool just as well. Okay, so let's get back to the maps. So you just want a good map compass. I really do like compasses with a magnifying glass built in. Certainly you don't need that necessarily. It just makes the base plate a little bit longer. But having a little longer base plate is very, very handy. Now in another video, we did a whole series on map and compass work. So if you're interested in this topic of map and compass work, of navigation, you can check out those videos. They are a little boring, but we kind of go from 0 to hero in, I think, maybe 10 or 12 videos. Just everything you need to know that's important for map reading. And in that video, what we talked about was preparing your map. And one thing you can do with a tourist map like this, it's not really built for using with a map and compass, is you can go ahead and put your grid lines in. And so all you really do need to do is just making sure that your grid lines are, maybe an inch or so apart. 2 inches is fine. Depends on the size of your map. And so just making sure that they're nice and straight is all you need. Just going north and south and making sure that they're straight and parallel with each other. And that is all you need to do when you're using them for a map and compass, so that you can get a good azimuth. It's just that simple. I recommend putting it in pencil. If you can, pen's fine, but it will bleed through. And sometimes with these strip maps, there's information on the other side. So pencil is fine. Now, if you're in an area where there's extreme declination, I do recommend then offsetting those grids when you put them in. So if it's 2 degrees to the east or west, or 2 degrees to the east, you can use your compass to get those degrees. And you can use your compass also as a straight edge if you need to, and to put lines in. You don't have to travel with a ruler, but you can find any flat, long, straight edge is fine, and you can do this on the fly. So you put your own grids in. The other grid that you can do, which is handy, and we didn't talk about this in the digital series, but if anyone is interested in looking and seeing what it looks like, I can do another video. But I'll post a picture of it right here. And that is actually a grid reference graphic, turning the map into a grid reference. And so that's, you're using a ruler then to put in some large squares running perpendicular and parallel with each other, so you're making big boxes. And then at the very top you put, A, B, C, D, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, so that when you're communicating with somebody, you can say you're at, B4, whatever. And a lot of these strip maps often already have those grid references in there. So that's another way that you can prepare. And you can use then, if those are parallel and north, you can use that grid reference grids for your navigation as well. So you could put in, for example, your grid reference in blue, and then your other, and then smaller grids with black if you wanted to, in between. So you had more lines to get your direction from. So so you can figure out pretty much all of your do all of the map and compass work that you would do, say, in the wilderness in the city with a map. So in this example, this is a pretty big park here. I could literally just plot a course in this park with my compass, and not have to order some some special National Geographic map, or some NGS, the Geological Survey map, or anything like that. I can just use the basic free map that I have available for all of those things. One last thing and tool to talk about and to consider, which is very helpful, and I do a lot of videos and writing on this tool, is the Winson telemeter. This is the basic version of it. The basic version is generally what I travel with most of the time. I have this with me everywhere I go. You can put in the degrees, the offset, or the declination rather, and judge that with your Winson telemeter. It's a straight edge, so you can make a ruler by combining the two devices, the base plate. So now you have a nice long ruler or straight edge to put your lines in. And then you can also use the Winson telemeter to actually pinpoint your location. So in a map, very quickly, we use triangulation. So I'm going to shoot two bearings, one going this way, one going that way. I'm going to plot those bearings on the map, and where the two places intersect is where I'm at. Pretty simple. I have a whole video on this if you're confused. Check it out. That's triangulation. Now there's also trilateration, and trilateration is exactly how your GPS works. So you can use your Winson telemeter just like a GPS in a sense. And what you're going to do is actually, instead of based off of your angles of of the bearings that you shot, or that you are going to use distance. And so you're just going to measure the distance between 2 points. If you can do 3 or 4 or 5, the more you have, the more accurate. And then you can use this device then actually to plot those distances on the maps. And I have a whole write-up on how to do that. I don't have a video yet. However, I'd be happy to do a video. I don't think I have a video up on it, and I could do a video on that if people are interested. I could do that, but the write-up is pretty clear. It's pretty simple on how to do. It's pretty similar to triangulation, but different. So this is a very, very handy tool to have, particularly in an emergency situation, but also when in a situation of emergency boredom. If you want to pass some time, this is a fantastic way to learn and explore cities just as much as the other aspects of the outdoors. So these two little devices go with me pretty much everywhere I'm traveling. One thing to note, if you're doing international travel, particularly if you're going to the Southern Hemisphere, pick up the Southern Hemisphere version of the Clipper compass. This compass, like some other compasses, are fine in the Southern Hemisphere. They work. They might not be as reliable, but they work fairly well. This compass does not work very well. It's not very reliable in the Southern Hemisphere. So if you are traveling quite a bit into the Southern Hemisphere, you would want to pick up one of these. You'll note this is a Southern Hemisphere compass. This is a Northern Hemisphere compass. And the differences are quite a bit off. So, yeah, so definitely you want to make sure you get the right compass for the environment that you're in as well. So with that, any comments, questions, put them down below. Happy to answer those. If you would like to see a trilateration map with your Winson telemeter, I could probably try to do that. Otherwise, just check out our blog and just Google Winson telemeter. I have the whole post is how all the different things we talk about that you can do in a cityscape with your Winson telemeter. Some things are quite fun. So I'll just put it that way. Like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's any questions on it. Thanks.